My plan is to have in this particular class to go through all the topics that are majorly required for the first unit to be completed. So for that reason, we will be seeing the class uh, with somewhat fastness, and at the same time, I'll be dealing with all the important topics without missing anything. So let us start itself. We have already started this RDPMS class, but since there has been long gap coming in between, I just wanted to have a recap of the previously known concepts. So in case of our outline of the first unit, we have started with learning what is database system. Then we have started with learning what are the advantages of database system, what is database abstraction, data models, data schema, data independence, data definition language, data manipulation language, what is a manager, database manager, who are the users and administrators of database, what is the overall structure of the database. Then we will be looking into what is an entity, what is an entity set, what is a relationship and what is a relationship set. Then we will be talking about few of the major concepts of keys. Keys are unique attributes which are used for identifying each entity in the entity set. So there are different categories of keys, and you'll be seeing all those keys like super candidate key, primary key, and few more things. Then we'll be seeing about what is map. Then we'll be seeing after making the diagrams for the database how to convert those diagrams into tables, that is reducing of ER diagrams into table format. Then we'll be talking about how to make use of those ER diagrams in the best possible manner by making use of generalization, specialization, and aggregation concepts. So next we'll be seeing about one of the very important concepts for your higher education as well as for in detail learning about database as functional dependency. What attributes are dependent on each other and how that particular attribute dependency is actually derived. Those things we'll be seeing there. Then we'll be learning about what is first normal form, second normal form, third normal form, and finally we'll be learning about what is AF chord rules. So starting with what is database management system, I'll not be going in detail about it. A database can be just considered as a simple repository of data. Now when I talk about it is a repository of data, it means that not just it's a repository of data, it's actually a set of tools, a set of commands which are going to make use of this data so that the data can be retrieved and used in the best possible manner. So, a database management system is composed of two things. First one is the database. Second is a set of management system tools. So, management system tools will be working around with the data that is stored in this repository of database such that it is best to retrieve the data in the most efficient manner and it is convenient to use the data whenever. So this is the concept about database management system. So we can just understand that DBMS is a collection of interrelated data. When we say interrelated data, I'm talking about data which is having some significant importance. For example, I've already given the example to you that when I'm talking about student data, mostly we'll be talking about mostly will. Ravi, is my voice now clear? No. Is my voice clear now, ma? Ravi? Hello. Now clear. Okay, thank you. When we are talking about DBMS, we are telling that DBMS is a collection of interrelated data. When I say interrelated data, I mean that I'm talking about that category of data which is of some significant importance to us. We will not be considering that data which is of no use to us. For example, when I talk about student database, usually we'll talk about PIN number, name, marks, and so forth. But not just those things are related to student. Student's personal life details are also available, like what is the address of the student, how many cell phones are there with the student, when the student gets and so forth. But all those are of no importance to us. So, what actually we are talking about is some set of data which is of some significant importance to us. That is interrelated data. Now, you to use this interrelated data, we have to have some set of programs, and those set of programs should be such that they should provide a convenient and efficient environment to use it. Now, talking about applications of database, there are various applications that can be there of database. It's like if you take any real world example, without database, it's not working nowadays. You can think of database as if it's a collection of various set of things, set of tools, set of data, set of accessing, viewing type of presentation type of tools. This has become so widely used now that none of the branches in the world is left untouched with it. So when we want to say that there are lots of applications, let us list few of them. First and foremost, which is very highly used, where the database is very highly used, is banking for transactions. Without database, the banking environment cannot exist. Second is airlines. When the flight is going to come, your booking of tickets, your airlines guidance, everything will be dealt with the database. Talking about universities, as you yourself are the students, you know that without your results being displayed in the websites, you cannot have your data to be checked. So there is a need for database in various sectors of our real world life. I'm not going in detail for those. Let us quickly move on for rest of it. So first of all, before we go for file database systems, let us first talk about what used to exist prior to this database systems. Prior to database systems, there used to be something called as file system. This file system was such that it used to have some sort of problems. For example, when I say file system, it means either the handwritten file or it may be a computer related file. If the file is either maintained through handwritten notes or through the computer environment, in both the cases, the problem that exists is first and foremost data redundancy and inconsistency. Data redundancy means if I am saving the data, when we really work around for different data sets, the data will be split into multiple files for some type of convenience. Sometimes I will be working on some part of the data, some others will be working on some other part of data. And at the end, when we want to merge those two data, I may follow my own certain rules and regulations to frame the data. Others may follow their own rules and regulations to form the data. When we try to merge them, there will be some sort of mismatch in the actual formats. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to again make use of what is existing and try to make a common format and try to copy from the existing files. So now there are two files existing which I have made, one which is original and one which I have tried to match with the others. Similarly, for the other who has made, they also have one which is already existing with them and one which they have tried to have for some sort of matching. So, first thing that is the drawback is redundancy. Redundancy means a piece of information which is being saved in the computer memory for multiple times. It is actually being used only once, but it is being saved at multiple locations. If it is being saved on multiple locations, there is a drawback that it will consume a huge amount of memory. And suppose after a while, when I again retouch those files, again go through those files, I may think that I was working on the original file and I will update it. But I will forget that I also made one more copy which I wanted to have as matching to other companion, other programmer also. So what will happen is the original one will not be as same as that of the matching one. So there will be inconsistency, mismatch of information between those two data. So those things were the first and foremost drawbacks of file system. Due to these drawbacks only, we wanted to have moving from database file system to database management system. So first drawback is redundancy, second drawback is inconsistency. Coming next, isolation. For example, if multiple users are working on files, I'll be sitting at, let us say I'm in India and another programmer is in US. Both are working on some sort of data. I'm using, let us say, Microsoft Word to prepare the data. The US person is using some office related tools like, let us say, Library, and both are making some sort of data. Though both are just Word files, but their formats are different. Second thing, what piece of information is there in my file is not there in the USS file. So the information is now not in one single repository, it is on multiple ways. There was some comment. Sir, can you remove the white screen at the right? Okay, fine now. So since there are multiple files, the data that we are preparing will be scattered. In case of database management system, what this data, though it is being used at different locations, one at USA, one in India, but at the same time we'll be using one single repository of data. So whether the USA person inserts the data or through India I'm entering the data, both will be entering the data in one single repository only. So the data will not be scattered in case of database management system. But in case of file systems, the data is scattered and it may be in multiple formats. If it is in Word, I'm using MS Word, let us say, and the other may be using, let us say, another type of like, let us say, Libre or OpenOffice to use that particular application. Now we require those two different applications at different locations and make use of a single file. So now still logging in. Okay. So that was the second problem. The second problem is data isolation. First one was data redundancy and inconsistency. Second one is data isolation. Third one is integrity. Integrity problem means, for example, I'm entering the PIN numbers. Your PIN numbers. Your PIN numbers will start from 0 to 1 to 60. PIN number cannot be 0, PIN number cannot go beyond 61. So when I'm entering your PIN numbers, let us say by mistake was a typo error and I entered PIN number as 0 and I entered the marks. Now, in case of file system, there is no checking mechanism wherein the file will give back an error to me telling that I have entered a wrong PIN number. Or else let us say I have entered a PIN number like instead of 6600, some error in typing and I made it as 600. So those type of errors are not being checked in case of our file systems. But whereas in case of database management system, there are specific tools and specific codes which will provide me that there is some error being entered to set those conditions telling that if I enter more than or a user enters more than 60 as a pin number, give this set of error. So that facility is there to customize my application. Whereas in case of file system, that facility is not available. It's there in database management system. Those conditions which we are trying to customize are called as consistency constraints. Those are called as what? Consistency constraints. Consistency means having some common nature. Means all the pin numbers should start from 1 and should end with 60. That consistency constraints will be checked only in database management system. That is not there in file system. Similarly, in case of bank accounts, suppose you went for withdrawing of money and you have entered, for example, let us say 10 lakhs. Actually, you wanted to withdraw only 10,000, but you pressed two more zeros by mistakenly. So those type of checkings, whether that particular amount is available in your bank balance or not, that much amount, can you draw it or not? Is there any withdrawing limit or not? Those condition checking is not possible in case of file system because there is no mechanism for it internally inbuilt. But in case of database management system, we can apply certain consistency constraints and it will always check for those consistency constraints before performing any operation. So we have seen till now three type of errors. First one was data redundancy. Was data redundancy and inconsistency. Second one was data isolation. Third one was integrity problems. Now coming on for one of the major drawbacks, which is there in case of our database management system, is atomism. The drawback in the file system is when I want to enter the data, I can enter the data in terms of the name of a particular user. When I'm entering name of a particular user, I will write, let us say Naveen Kumar. I'll enter Naveen Kumar. But Naveen Kumar, if you try to see, is having two different parts in it. One is Naveen, second is Kumar. First name and the last name. So, in case of name, I can split the name into first name and second name and try to enter it as required. But when it is being entered in the file system, it is being entered as one single line of name. And there is no categorization for those two classifications. So in case of database management system, we can have two separate columns. One for the first name, second for the last name, and we can enter as needed for us. So that is atomicity. Atomicity means in normal English, atom means a particle which cannot be divided. Same way, in case of database management system, if there is to be a column to be made in database, there is to be a heading in which we are going to enter the data. That particular heading should be unsplittable further. Lastly, we have one more problem, which is the this security is such a highly needed feature that whatever data is existing now is expected to be highly secure. When we are using normal file system, data cannot be secure because, for example, if I am entering some data in the files on my laptop itself, I can sit in a closed room and I can say that the data is secure. I am not sharing it with others. I am not allowing anyone to put a pen drive onto it, something like that. But you all know that whenever I am trying to type something, I need to open the screen and start typing it. At the same time, some of my colleagues may stand behind me and check what I am typing. So, is there any security for it? No. Just imagine that you need to update your username or phone number, and all the username profile is saved in a file on the system, and you open that file. So your username, your password, your phone number, your email address, everything is visible on the screen now. If someone stands behind you and checks what's going on there, they can easily catch up what's your password. So that type of problems exist in case of file system, but in case of database system, if you are updating only username, it will update only username. It will not display any other field. If you are entering phone number, it will update only phone number. It will not display any other part to any user. And that too with high security. First, it will ask for the password for updation. Then it will let you to change anything. Otherwise, it will not. So, considering all these drawbacks, we can say that file system is not highly useful for us to maintain huge amount of data, whereas database management system is needed to be learned in order to maintain huge amount of data securely. So in next we have got various things to be learned. For example, what is abstraction? Abstraction means hiding the complexities from normal user, giving only the view, only that amount of data is needed for them to be known. For example, if a student logs in, the student will get that particular student's result only. Whatever PIN number they have entered, PIN number's database will only be displayed. But if I as a faculty log in, I'll get all the students' results in one single screen. Whereas if principal sir logs in, not just the subjects which principal sir teaches, you will get all other subjects and all the whole of the college database able to be viewed on the screen. So depending on the user, there are different views that a particular user will get. So coming on for understanding what is that view and how that particular details are hidden, let us try to understand a brief pictorial view. First of all, we'll hide the details based on what user is going to view. For example, if a normal user is going to view, we'll give only that particular user's able to be viewed window to view. That user will not be able to see rest of it. Similarly, another user, that's a view level. Now, coming next, we have got another level which is called as logic level. In this level, we will try to hide what is the logic involved in saving the data. Coming on for next level, which is physical level, we will hide where exactly the data is being saved and how the data is being saved. So, if we have a look on to all those things, first let us talk about physical level. As I said, how the data is going to be saved and where the data is going to be saved is being hidden here. For example, if I consider database management system, the data will be usually saved in terms of tables, and table will be composed of multiple rows and columns. Each row is called as a record. Each row in the table is called as either a tuple or record. So So in case of physical level, we'll hide how a date record is to be stored from the normal user. For example, when I say how the record is being stored, I'm talking about its internal complexities. We are computer science graduates, so we can understand a little more in detail. For example, if I'm talking about saving the username, name of the user in terms of character, I can say that character is a array of when I'm talking about name, it should be a string. So I can say that string is a character array. Now, when I talk about array, it will have some length with it. Like, for example, uh, a of 2, a of 3, a of 4, like that. I can say that a name is about 32 characters wide, or it may be 64 characters wide, or it may be 128 characters wide. So, when I'm working as a database developer, I will decide what should be the internal size of that particular name as a variable, which will contain different names of all the students. So as a database developer, I will decide that okay, in a class there are multiple students, and to the max, a particular student's name can be of 128 alphabets wide. So that 128 will not be reflected in the results scorecard. It will be hidden from the normal scorecard. It will not be displayed there. It is only meant for the internal purpose of the developer. So this is one type of hiding. Second hiding is in case of physical, we know that we are using our Gmail account and all those things. But where exactly our data is being saved in the world, we don't know. On which server it is being saved, we don't know. That's again a hidden matter from us. So these two things are called as physical level abstractions. Second level of abstraction is logical. For example, as I said, let us talk about student database. When I talk about student database, I will talk that a student will have a name, PIN number, and marks associated. So all that will be saved in one single row. In one row for each student will be taken. Each row is called as a record. Now, if I'm talking about a record, I have taken the PIN number or ID over here as the string. Same way, name as the string, department name as the string, and salary as integer. Now, if I talk about ID, this ID for you people is the PIN number, which is composed of 18054-CP some number. But when we talk about employee or the instructor or some employee code, we talk only in terms of numerical values, not alphanumerical one. So when I say only numerical, should I take it as a string still? No, number is sufficient enough. So whether the number data type was used here or string data type was used here will be determined at the logical level. So what is the logic involved in saving the data? Second thing, why I have decided only for ID, name and department and salary? Why not other details about the instructor, like for example experience? So what type of attributes are to be composed to make the record will be determined at the logical level. Similarly, for the student database, let us say in the result scorecard, you are getting the name, PIN number, marks of individual subject, and total and percentage. But beyond that, there are few more things that are being calculated. That is whether you have a backlog or not, whether you passed successfully in the first attempt or not. To get into credit ratings, all those calculations will be there, but it will not be depicted back on your result scorecard. It is hidden. So those details, logical decision making details, will be hidden at the logical level. So logical level usually tells what is the exact data that is being stored and what is the relationship among the data. Next level is view level. View level hides the data based on who is viewing that particular data. For example, as I said just before, if the student logs in and sees a result, it will be he or she will be able to see only that particular student's result. Whereas if a faculty logs in, faculty will be able to see all the performance of the all students who are there in that particular faculty subject. So there are three levels of abstraction. First one is physical, second is logical, third one is view level. What we are going to learn next is instances and schemas. Whatever logical structure that we have learned till now in this particular part is called as schema. To make a table, first we will determine how many rows will be there in the table and how many columns will be there in the table and what should be the names of the column. Now when I say column name, when we talk about computer programming, we know that column names are the variables which are going to hold the values inside it. For example, if I make a column as name, the name in that particular column, name column, I'll write all the names of the students. So that name will be holding all the student names inside it as values. So this name as a heading should have some data type signifying that that particular name heading will be able to store so and so values. For example, salary. I will take the data type of the salary as number or integer or float, so that some numerical values can be inputted inside it. Same way for name, I will take the data type of the name as string, so that names as string values can be entered inside it. So schema defines what is the logical structure of the table. What How many columns are there in the table, what are the names involved in the column headings, and what are their data types. Whereas in each row there will be some value inside it. That row's values are called as instances. When we talk about values at a particular moment of time, what is the value inside the table, we are considering that one. So instances means what is the value inside a particular column name at a particular given moment of time. Whereas schema means what is the logical structure for that particular table. Let us see the theory. It's similar to variables and programming languages.
ఇవి మ్యాథ్స్ ఒకటి పడ్డది ఏంటి సి ప్లస్ మళ్ళా విజయసారి కలిసి చేసేది సో అన్ని కొంచెం అదే సి ప్లస్ స్టార్ట్ కట్టి ప్రిపేర్ చేపిస్తా.
Okay, I was getting some disturbance from other end. Have they finished that one? I hope that crosstalk is over. Fine. So coming back again to your instances and schemas, the logical structure is called as the logical structure of the database is called as the logical schema, and whatever values are being saved inside a database are called as the actual content of the database at a particular point in time is called as the instance. Now, in case of schema, we further classify it into two categories. One is what is the logical structure, second is what is the physical structure. So to understand what is the difference between these two, let us talk about a table. Let us say a student table is composed of name as one of the columns. When I say name, the logical structure for me is for the table is The table is composed of name, pin number, and marks. Marks 1, marks 2, marks 3, marks 4, marks 5. So logical structure, when I'll say that there are 7 columns inside the student table, and the column one name is the pin number. Second one is the name of the student. Third one is the mark 1, mark 2, mark 3, so on till marks 5. So this is a logical structure. And what are the data types for all those? I'll mention. When I say physical structure or physical schema, I'll say that okay, the table is to be saved in the computer. How much memory should be allocated to the table as an initial case? If the table is very small, I can give it a smaller amount of memory. But I don't know how many students will be added based on as the time goes on, more and more students will be coming and joining. So I should allocate some amount of memory each requirement levels. So how much amount of memory is to be given for one column? How much is to be given? Okay, I'm deciding that the mark should be of 3-digit wide, 0 to 100. 3 digits requirement is there. Now to calculate the total, I know that if 10 subjects are there of 100 marks, then it will become 1000. So the maximum total will become 1000. It is 4 digits wide. So what is the internal requirement to save the data? That is called as physical schema. So the next topic is physical data independence. Physical data independence means the ability to modify the physical storage location structure without changing the logical structure, logical schema. If I am able to change the physical, like for example, tomorrow I decide that I need to modify the name which names data type which I took as string of 20 characters. Now someone got admitted whose name is 32 wide, 32 characters wide. Earlier I have set the data type as string of 20 characters. Now that 32 characters wide person has to be involved in our class. So for that reason I need to modify the data type now. If I modify the data type, already existing data is there. Should it get blanked up? Should it get flushed off? No. It should remain as it is without changing the internal logical structure. So a database which is having that facility wherein I can modify the physical schema without disturbing the logical schema is called as the physical data independence. Next, we were looking into data models. When I talk about data model, just before we have whatever concepts we have learned is just a brief overview of what the data is. But when I practically want to see the data, I need to look into 4 major things over here. The first and foremost is what exactly is the data that I am going to save. Second thing, what is the relationship among that particular data? Is it relevant or not? Third one is what is the meaning behind those saved data? For example, phone number I am saving. Phone number internally in computer is just a number, but its meaning or semantic is that we can make use of that number to make a call to particular person. For example, in within India, if I want to make a call, I need not type any international code. But if someone is staying beyond India, and if I want to make a call to them, then I need to type their particular uh, uh, then I need to type their particular country's code, which may be somewhat different from India. For example, if I'm calling on for Saudi Arabia, then I need to type plus 9668 to already existing number. So that plus 966, though it's just a numerical value, it is meaning that it's a code given for a particular country, Saudi Arabia. So similarly, what is the semantic of the data is to be known to us. Fourth one is what are the constraints that are involved in it. Constraint means any condition that we put on the database. For example, I'm keeping a condition on the salaries column of the database of employees that the salary should not be less than 10,000. So that condition is called as a constraint now. So within 5 minutes, the class is going to wind up. I think the timing restrictions are there. So just revising back, what is data model? Data model is a collection of tools describing what is the data, what are the relationships among the data, what is the semantic behind the data, and what are the constraints that are involved in the data. So when we talk about data models are tools which help us to define and describe four things that we have learned here. Either that description can be in pictorial format or in written or stored inside. So in case of pictorial format, we have got entity relationship data model, which is also called as ER model. It's a diagrammatic representation of the database. Second one is relational model, which saves the data in the computer. It is usually used for implementation of the database. It saves the data in terms of tables, also called as relations. So relational database uses tabular model to store the data. Third model is object-based data model, which is also used for saving of the data. It is little more than that advanced than that of relational model. The advancement is that nowadays, since we have got lots of object-oriented languages, programming languages, we just not want to save the data, we also want to interact with the data through some programs. Those programs are object-based, object-oriented. So we need to have our database also object-based or object-oriented. So we have got the third model called as object-based data models. Semi-structured. Semi-structured means we want to translate one form of database into another form of database. For that reason, we require an intermediary language tool, which is XML. Fifth one is with regard to other models, which may be a network model or a hierarchical model. These were the two models which were used at very olden days, but still nowadays, if you want to have a look into network model, is suppose the database is saved on, suppose a program is working on a particular database and that database is saved in India, and the programmer happens to visit US and still wants to visit India as well. So he can use some link to link onto India's database, but for every query that he is trying to put on the database, it will take some significant amount of time. Rather than that, if I make a same copy of the database back into USS server and ask him to just have a